everybody. My name is Evan Radisik. I'm the Managing Director of the Cloud Software Association. Thanks a lot for joining us again for another masterclass. Today we have with us Bharat Chopra, which is an absolutely badass name. He's the GM of the Integration Center at LeagueApps. He's going to be talking through kind of how he built out his partner ecosystem. I won't get too into it. I'll let Bharat kind of do a little intro and kind of what he's going to be talking about. But there's a few themes here that I think a lot of people will relate. I kind of took a look at some of the stuff that he's built out for for his program, and it's really achievable and kind of adaptable and approachable for a lot of folks, especially as you're kind of getting into this new realm of like, okay, like you gotta like start creating an ecosystem. Like, where do you start? Where do you where do you want to get to, and some of the tactical approaches to that. So without further ado, Bharat, I'll let you share your screen and just do a little intro and take it away. And yeah, please, if there's questions, just jump in there as awkwardly as you can.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd love to, I'll introduce myself. I'd love to just go around the room and learn a little bit about each of you guys and what you're working on. So as Evan said, Bharat Chopra, I'm the GM of the Integration Center at LeagueApps. I'll talk more about LeagueApps in a moment and when I share my screen, but just a quick bit on my background. I worked in the sports industry out of college. I worked for the U.S. Golf Association, and then got a real job in management consulting, lived in Asia for 5 years, where I found myself back in the golf industry. I went from management consulting to selling sponsorship on the Asian tour. Quickly realized that there's only so many ways you can slap a logo on somebody's clothing and call it innovation, and wanted to do more. So I came back to the US, went to business school, and then spent 3 years at Dell launching consumer products, which are a big part of what I brought to LeagueApps in terms of helping to launch a new product inside a tech startup. Then I spent 8 years in early stage education technology companies. So a lot of experience. I was co-founder of 2 companies. So building stuff from really the ground up, which again was invaluable experience. So was fortunate to find LeagueApps, this company, very mission-driven company at the center of sports, impact, and technology, which are 3 things I love. So excited to be here. Would love to go around the room and learn a little bit about each of you, and then I'll share my screen and take this off. I'll name people so you guys aren't awkwardly guessing. Start with you. Is it Shana?
Shayna.
Shayna.
Yes, but I have heard every pronunciation under the sun, so I'll answer to nearly anything. So my name is Shaynacuss. I am coming from a company called Mongoose. Mongoose is a conversational marketing or conversational engagement software company that right now serves higher education exclusively. So we have 2 products that we sell into institutions across the country. One is a one-to-many or one-to-one texting platform called Cadence, and the other is a virtual assistant chatbot called Harmony. I have been with the company for about 3.5 years. My trajectory has been pretty curvy. I worked on both products. I actually worked with a counterpart to start up the Harmony product line, and kind of the same old song as it relates to partnerships. For the 5 or 6 years that Mongoose had been in existence, we've been just kind of reactive to partnership inquiries. And right in the beginning of 2021, we decided, hey, somebody needs to really sit in this seat, define who it is that we are and how we exist out in the market. And that person is me. So I'm at the very early stages of redefining and rebuilding our partnerships program here at Mongoose.
That's great. Thank you. Peter?
Thank you.
I do what everybody does, just like forget to unmute myself after like 1.5 years of online meetings.
Peter, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
I unmuted. You're screwing with me, Jesus. The panic that like flooded me when you said that, I was like, what?
I haven't heard that one in a while. That's pretty good. It's always good when somebody falls for it.
Oh my God. And the funny part was I was literally just talking how I wasn't doing it. So kudos to you, but yeah, I just wanted to point out one thing first. Shayna, that's right. You can say this if it's bad. Okay, I like your wallpaper. That's nice.
I
So
wish I could take credit for it, but it's my office's. Thank you very much.
okay, nonetheless. So I started in channel development, I guess, when I was with my last company, Big Ass Fans, and was really helping build out the network that we have up here in Canada. We're a small, um, really small office actually up in Canada compared to the counterpart down in Lexington, Kentucky, and even Asia Pacific. So was really building out that network to work with consultants, so mechanical consultants primarily to specify products and get into the bid spec game a lot more than the actual distribution channels that we had up here in Canada. So was there for about 4 years, got really comfortable, and I felt really good at that role. And then an opportunity came up in a SaaS company where I'm at now, Quorum Digital, where I represent a brand called Firm Channel, where we help people communicate better to their clients or audience through digital signage. And it's just a whole different beast. It's extremely different than the previous life that I was living. So really just looking to gain as much information as I can from everybody and figure out how to be successful.
Thanks. Kelly?
Hi, I'm Kelly. I lead marketing for Pandium, which is an integration marketplace platform. So we basically power integrations for other SaaS companies. And we are just working and living in the world of technology partnerships all day long. So I'm here to hear how everyone else is thinking about these things.
Cool. And LeagueApps uses Pandium, and we greatly appreciate all the wonderful thought leadership that you put out. It's very helpful.
Thanks.
Integration.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you. I hear your name a lot with Christina and Natalie and Sean, but I've never met you directly. So
yeah, nice to meet you. Joe?
Yeah, Joe Roten. I'm the director of innovation for a company called Cision. If you haven't heard of Cision, it's kind of the 800-pound gorilla in PR software. So if you've ever seen a press release, there's like a 1 in 3 chance it's coming from us. I am really excited for this conversation, primarily because I came from an incubator lab. Keyword came because it's kind of dissolved now. Where we built a technology to essentially help PR professionals better understand the business impact of their earned media. So believe it or not, it's actually still very hard for PR people to know how well a earned media hit on entrepreneur.com performed, because it's typically owned by Entrepreneur and all the first party data that's associated with the walls behind Entrepreneur. They can show people how many people come to entrepreneur.com in general, unique visitors per month, but it's not indicative of that particular article. So we built the technology to help them do a lot of that. I tell you that dumb, long-winded detail because we're kind of at this pivot point where the way we built our technology is kind of off the backbone of the advertising industry. And if you've read anything about the ad tech industry, the third-party cookie is going away. So it's impacting a multi-billion-dollar industry. So we've been probably for the last 6 months going through a pretty aggressive data partner evaluation. That is, how do you continue to power something like this that's gotten really great adoption internally? You know, it's a high 7-figure business just over the last 2 years. You know, in a world where this technology doesn't exist. So we've evaluated, we've identified, we've sourced particular partners, but what we haven't done a lot of is really thought through integration. So that's why I'm super excited about this conversation, and that's who I am. So nice to meet you guys.
Thanks so much. I hope that I can deliver on your objectives. So I'm going to share, you know, some background on who LeagueApps is. Did I show the right screen? Yes. So I'm just going to present this for now, and then I'll dive into, you know, what basically my whole story over the last couple of years, where LeagueApps started, where we are now. So okay, so First of all, what is LeagueApps? LeagueApps is the operating system for enterprising youth and local sports leaders. And, we provide them with technology, community, and professional development they need to succeed. When I was a kid, youth sports was going down to the local field and, my friends' parents were the coaches and, we wrote a $40 check to pay for a 16-year-old to be an umpire. Today, the youth sports industry is a little bit different. It's a $75 billion industry. There's 40 million kids that play in it every year. And, they're signing up for club teams, spending $10,000 a year, using it as a way to get into good colleges. And there's really an amazing industry of local entrepreneurs that have come up and are driving this at the grassroots level. So we're super excited to be a company that's providing thought leadership and community for them. Over the years, we've processed over 10 million registrations, over $2 billion have transacted across our platform, and about 10,000 organizers and administrators that are using our product. So very mission driven and just really excited to be playing this critical role in the industry. And so, one thing that LeagueApps did was for a really, really long time, we just focused on our core product. And our core product is managing registrations, payments, messaging, scheduling. We really focused on the league organizers and the tournament operators as our customer. And so, we just did this for a very, very long time. We said no to a lot of different things and really kept our heads down until we found product market fit and we're in a position to scale. From there, we realized that critical path to scaling is helping our customers accomplish all of their business objectives through our platform. And what we realized is that, LeagueApps is the top of the ecosystem because our customers, all of their customers, these are their parents and the athletes and the coaches, they're providing their registration data on LeagueApps, and we are now the host and the stewards of that data. So if they want to use other platforms and other products, the last thing they want to do is have their members register a second time. They want the data to flow through from LeagueApps to these other platforms. So we found ourselves in a really powerful position where we had millions of email addresses and credit cards on file. We have thousands of organizers that trust us to help them run their businesses. And so we figured that the way to build an ecosystem is to help them access other products and services that can help them create new revenue streams, streamline their operations, or as I flippantly say, like help them do less work and make more money. So all of this was born out by something that we call LeagueApps Connect. And the fundamental principles here are that we believe our customers own their data, that they're using several tools to run their organization, and we want to let them sync their data across these different tools. Fundamentally, we want to help them simplify their workflows and generate new and incremental and varied revenue streams. How do we do this? The first thing was we built an API that allows them to every one of our partners can download an API key and they can do whatever they want with their own data. They own it. We then built 3 products on top of our API in areas where we saw lots of our different customers. By the way, we call them partners, so you may hear me say that occasionally. We see lots of our partners are using specific products. So there's like a USA Hockey and US Lacrosse membership verification tool. So we've gone and built those to make it easy for them to get their data from us into other platforms. We built a Zapier automation. And then more recently, we've built an integration center. We chose to use Pandium's white label integration center to power the LeagueApps integration center. And most of the conversation will focus on this now. The integration center, our approach was we wanted to have a highly curated set of technology products and services. We'll be very selective in choosing who we partner with. We'll make sure that they're highly aligned with our mission and our values. We'll certainly want to make sure that they deliver on a technology solution. And the reason for that is many of our competitors have marketplaces and they have turned into these, in many ways they appear like an ad network. And what we learned from our customers and from the platform partners, the technology companies, is that experience wasn't everything they hoped for. So, since we were starting a little bit later than some of the biggest players in our industry, we figured we'd learn from what they did and do things a little bit differently. So that's just an overview on LeagueApps. And with that, I'll talk about the value proposition of our integration center, which I just talked about a little bit. But, we really want to focus on our customers, help them streamline their operations, help them create new revenue streams, and ultimately all of this in services, helping our customers deliver amazing experiences to their members. So yeah, pause there, and I went pretty fast, and I don't know if there are any thoughts or questions along the way about who LeagueApps is, or why we have a platform strategy.
Maybe Brett, just comment on how what the initial ask was, right? Like, was it, let's build this monster of a kind of ecosystem, or was it, I know you said being selective with partners, but what was the vision starting out? Like, where do you want to be in a year or 2 year? Was that set out to begin with, or was it like, let's just get started, let's figure out kind of who we want to work with, and then go from there?
That is a great question. So we use a lot of sports metaphors. So I've chose to go with the baseball theme here, and I'll talk a little bit about the first inning and the early learnings we got when we first started. So thank you for that wonderful segue, Evan. Look, like as I mentioned earlier, our customers, we're a customer first company always, and they were saying, hey, we want integrations. We want to take the data that all of our members are registering LeagueApps, and we want to get that data into other platforms. And for a while we just said, hey, we're not ready, we need to focus on our core product and make sure we deliver on the core promise. And we said no a lot. Everyone else in the industry was constantly thinking, hey, we need to get access to your customer base, because as I mentioned, we had thousands of organizers that were transacting millions, hundreds of millions, and now billions of dollars on our platform. So when we started, we hired someone, gave him a title of head of platform partnerships, and he explored a lot of partnerships, and we built a whole bunch of one-off integrations. And the companies that we built them with were companies that had a large overlap of existing partners, and found that they just needed to get this data to sync from point A to point B. And what we learned in this process was that every single integration partnership was its own monster. There was a lot of work that was going into designing the integrations. They're getting built in different parts of our product, or sometimes getting built on their product, and then we had no oversight, no control. We were always of the mindset that we wanted to do a revenue share partnership as opposed to getting compensated for lead generation. And we found ourselves just having extensive negotiations over a small partnership that maybe over the course of a year would yield $30,000 of revenue share to us, yet the contract was as complicated as a massive partnership. So we realized that we couldn't scale this way, and so we said, okay, now it's time to really go inward and think about how we want to grow and scale. So I call this our second inning, where we decided we wanted to put a strategy in place and build an ecosystem. I don't know how much you guys know baseball, but sticking with the baseball metaphor, it kind of felt like we had an opener out there for the first inning to get the game started. And now we were bringing in, a starter who was going to be in here for the duration and really, manage an entire ball game. So I'm that starter who came in and had a lot of experience. And so we, like I said, starting from the inside out, we said we knew we wanted to create a lot of structure and process, and really run all of our different platform partners through this process. Before we even did that, though, we said, what's our business strategy? So one thing we decided, looked at all the competitive set, and the companies that we liked a lot were BigCommerce and Mindbody. And so we took a lot of the structure and the process that they had deployed. We because the youth sports industry is certainly smaller than the health and wellness space that Mindbody is in, there were parts of their execution that didn't make sense for us. So I was thinking I can share a little bit more about the mind-body model just to help you guys understand. But they built out a really robust integration center. They allow anybody to go and create a mind-body account, to go and build an integration, to launch that integration. They take a credit card from their technology partner, and for every mind-body customer that enables that integration, they charge, I think, $11 a month per location to the technology partner. And it was really fascinating to spend time with Jamie and learn about her model and learn how they decided to get to that point where they weren't chasing revenue share, but they were just going to build a really structured ecosystem and then a good developer experience and put the hands into their partners to build it. So we liked that a lot. Yet we decided that our industry is a lot smaller and that the rev share model actually made a lot more sense for us. But other than that, we put into motion a lot of what they had developed. BigCommerce was another one that had a lot of great structure and process, and we were able to learn from them. So that was our business strategy. To your point, Evan, we laid out really key objectives over a 3-year period. The first year was that we decided that we wanted to build our integration center and get a lot of integrations launched, that we would not focus on driving adoption of integrations or on revenue. And that was just because we knew there'd be so much work and that we wanted to have a long-term play here. So it was great. I was more hungry and ambitious to show commercial results, but my CEO was a really great leader and kept me focused on let's build it well, and then let's shift our focus. Once we get a large number of integrations launched, we'll shift our focus to monetizing and driving adoptions. So the second thing we did was we looked at the entire youth sports industry and we broke it down into about 30 different categories. And what we did was we really wanted to stack rank these categories to understand, which are the categories that are going to drive the most value to our customers, we call our partners, to the prospects, which are the ones that are going to help our sales team convert new customers, which is going to help our our customer success team, just really keep the churn at incredibly low levels for a SaaS company. Did a bunch of market analysis and, really, I tore into these categories. I looked at the overall size of each of these 30 categories. And then, talk to board members, talk to VCs in the industry, talk to all the different platform partners in the sports companies, talk to my department leaders. And based on all of those conversations, I'm going to stop sharing this and show you what that category analysis looked like. We use a tool called Notion. So you'll see that we use that for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, so a lot of the categories, one is just accounting. QuickBooks Online was an integration that our partners have been asking us for a long, long time. Background checks is super important in the youth sports industry. There's now federal laws in place that require coaches and even volunteers that have access to children that they get federal or local background checks. So again, something that's just super important, super valuable to make the industry safe and protect children. So something that high priority for us. College recruiting is a super important industry. As these athletes are spending tens of thousands of dollars a year, their participation on the club team is super important, and a way that the club teams are differentiating themselves by helping athletes get into high quality schools. So I'm not going to.
I don't know if you're planning on showing that category analysis. Just want to let you know that you're not sharing your screen. I'm also curious to see what it looks like, so I had to throw that out there.
Thank you. I wanted to make sure you guys are still paying attention. Yeah, so this is the analysis. I kind of grouped it. I have some major categories, so you'll see there'll be some overlaps in major categories like health and safety, player profile, travel insurance. Each of the categories, there's a small description of the category. The prioritization was the last thing that happened, but it is now listed in order. In terms of business model, the prioritization was just high, medium, and low. In terms of business model, a big part of our analysis when we did this is what is an area that's core to our product that we want to own and that we'll build ourselves? What's something where an integration makes the most amount of sense? Our general delineation there is this something where we will be the best people in the world? In which case we should build it. If it's not, if it's something where there are other people that are going to be the best in the world, then we should integrate. We're not going to build an accounting solution like QuickBooks Online. We're not going to build a marketing tool like MailChimp. And those are ones where obviously we're not going to build those ourselves. We'll integrate. And then in the youth sports industry, there's, do we want to be a travel agency that's managing hotel room bookings? Is that the best way we can add value to our partners? Probably not. So it's a one that is great. Now, is the travel industry and youth sports, is that a $14 billion industry? Yes, it is. So that's why this became a really high priority for us. We also looked at, a list of some of the top targeted partners and other companies. This is all pretty old, so I wouldn't lean into that too closely. Looked at who are my buyers in the space. So in some cases, my partner is the buyer. Their registration fees alone in the youth sports industry is $15 billion, and that's the amount of money that they're spending where they completely control that. The overall industry is $75 billion, so that's $60 billion of parents' money that the parents are spending elsewhere. And by enabling these integrations, I'm hoping that we can help our partners capture more share of their members' wallet in a way that their members are saying, thank you, take my money because you're making my life easier. So that's where, we're looking at who's the buyer, because that'll dictate a lot about the integration strategy and, how we bring the integration to market. And then I was able to, based on the overall size of the market and based on the size of my customer base and my member base, I was able to say, okay, this is how much I think this could be worth to LeagueApps. And then there's different revenue share models. So, in each of these different categories, there's a different business model, there's different price points, and there's different revenue share models for us to explore. So this was a really important step for us. There's a lot of research, a lot of proprietary research that we did, a lot of data that we have in having, 10 million athletes on our platform. And we're able to produce this massive analysis of the whole youth sports market that lent a lot of validity to us prioritizing our categories. I'm happy to pause there if you guys want to ask any questions.
Yeah, this is really interesting because I wonder if you would have been able to do the same work if this was done, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years earlier, right? Where that data didn't exist, right? You're picking winners and yourself based on whatever you have, but the ability to kind of put all this data together and then use that to prioritize is kind of interesting. I don't know if there's many companies that have that luxury. You kind of have to take a risk on a lot of these. That's why some integrations end up not working out so well, because whatever, market changes, customer changes, and the work doesn't end up happening. But yeah, this is really cool.
Yeah, I look, we were definitely lucky that we had a tremendous amount of data just by the nature of our business model and the millions of members and the thousands of organizations and the billions of dollars transacted. So yes, that was fantastic. But what was much more valuable was the ability to look at one of my, one persona, one organizational persona, and look at their financial model. So if I look at one of my customers, let's just say, it's $1 million youth sports business. Let's just say that they have 1,000 athletes that pay $1,000 a year in membership dues. I have a really good sense of how they're spending that $1,000, and I have a really good sense of how my customer is spending another $3,000. And so that's stuff that, sure, my data was helpful, but my relationship with my partners, my ability to understand their business and to understand, really all of their workflows from top to bottom was what filled in this data. And then, talking to all of my different platform partners, understanding that, in the evaluation space, it's pretty much $5 a player per year, but in the virtual coaching space, it could be $10 per player per month. Like, that's just information I get from having networked with the 200 or 300 companies in the youth sports industry. So I really understand the business models of the entire industry. So I do agree that we were lucky to have data, but there's a lot of other research and effort that can go in to basically map the industry that you're playing in.
Hey, Bharat, can you talk a little bit about the board, number 2D, board members, VCs, CEO, department leads? Is this based off of just kind of you being in the space for a hot minute, having these relationships? Talk to us maybe a little bit about the sourcing of some of this feedback from those types of individuals.
Yeah, so we're lucky that we have a very small and a very engaged board. And one of our board members is, he's very passionate about this part of the business. So, and also, we're also happen to be lucky to be in a unique space where our board members have children that are playing youth sports. So not only are they an investor and owner in the business, but they're also the customer. And then, when they have the critical thinking mindset of a venture capitalist while they're spending, 6 hours a weekend on a soccer field watching their kids play, they're able to be very valuable in helping us prioritize, why a tryout solution is something that every club team in America is using versus, maybe a different coaching tool that only a handful are using.
Yep.
So, that was the process for engaging the board member, was to create all this structure, provide all the data, and then go and have a robust conversation and just talk about categories, and then once you have the categories in place, then you can go and have a conversation about companies. So, you can't put the categories in place and you can't understand the business models until you know what the companies are and how they price and what their different models are. So it's certainly a circular research and analysis process. But once all of that work was done, it was really valuable to go back to the category level and say, okay, we're going to prioritize college recruiting and tryouts and travel. And we'll get to, banking solutions in the future, because I'm not sure if that was on this slide, but there's a whole nother analysis that went into like level of effort. And this is something that maybe is more core, we should own it. So that helpful. In terms of VCs, we have a number of venture capitalists that are invested in LeagueApps, and then we have great relationships with several others. So those tend to be more casual conversations where you just you leverage your network and you tap into other people who are doing a similar analysis of the entire landscape that are focused on the sports industry. For example, like there's one called Courtside Ventures, or EL Park is a venture capital arm of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And so, they're having, in many, many cases, they're having the same conversations I'm having with companies. And I'll talk you through how that evaluation process, I really built a VC-like model to evaluate sports technology companies, as part of me systematizing how I go look at 200 to 300 companies a year in the marketplace. That help?
I think one of the interesting things is that the value proposition that you've kind of built based on that market analysis to say, look, if it's this category, here's what it's worth. If we integrate with this partner, or if we partner up with this partner, whatever that means, here's the chunk that could be represented for LeagueApps. And then using that prioritization, like I think in those conversations, like to touch on Joe's question, like in those conversations with CEOs and department leaders, and being able to say, look, here are some of the top 10 or top 15 or top 2 verticals. Here's what they're worth, and we're getting an accelerated access into that vertical through this partner, right? It changes the dynamic completely from like, it gives them a real kind of like hook into why they would dedicate resources to it. It's like, well, are we interested in getting this into this vertical? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Well, how, like, is this a 10-year goal or is this a 2-year goal? If it's a 2-year goal, you're going to need help getting there. And best and quickest way to into it is through a partner, whether it's one partner or 15 partners. but that's a really good way of building those conversations and at least having a pretty good, like, objective when talking to them about it. I mean, you could be talking about, 10 different things, but at least kind of setting boundaries around like, hey, here's what it's going to do. Here's a monetary kind of expectation and goal we can reach with this. And then it's like, oh yeah, here's the approach and here's how we're going to do it. Right.
You're exactly right. And you're exactly right. And again, fortunately, as I said earlier, our objectives in year one are to get this built. Our objectives as we go into year two are to drive adoption of the integrations that are live. And then the objective in year three becomes more around driving revenue. So like I said, I'm really fortunate to have a board and a CEO and a leadership team that are patient and more patient than I am in many ways. And keeping me focused on, driving customer value. So, part of that categorization prioritization is basically every tournament operator in the youth sports industry has some kind of partnership with a travel agency. And I was able to go and find, who I think are the best travel, like technology partners that are innovating in the travel space, delivering a solution that is specifically for my tournament director, and driving conversion of hotel room bookings. And it just becomes a phenomenal part of the LeagueApps platform. Now I get to go and say, our tournament solution just got this much better because of my integration with Lucid Travel. Right. And then to your point, Evan, internally, I'm able to, talk about who our core customer is that is going to benefit from this integration. And then I get to talk to, if my customer success team has a net revenue retention objective, and I've worked really hard with my data team to make sure that the revenue share from a single integration gets mapped back to that account and gets credited to the customer success team, and helps their net revenue retention. Now, I'm speaking everyone's language. So, this category strategy was really important for us. I do realize that my model is different than many in the partnership space where, your partners are resellers of your product, whereas in my ecosystem, I own the customer and I'm demanding a revenue share in exchange for my platform partners, the technology partners, getting access and being able to leverage the power of the integration. So I haven't thought to exactly what that means, but you guys, I know, are all smarter than me and we'll be able to translate this model into yours.
Well, I mean, for me, selfishly, this is like wildly relevant to our world, right? Cision's got more customers than you could think. And, we own our most valuable asset is our customer base. So I'm intrigued to see where you go with number 3, implement a uniform process. I don't want to keep talking.
Okay, great. So I'll go to that. So look, for us, I broke this into 3 major work streams. I know I have 4 here. I'll fix that. But the 3 major work streams was evaluate partners, develop the integrations, and then go to market. And so I'll talk a little bit about each of those. In terms of evaluating and prioritizing, I really leaned on the fact that I'd spent 8 years in the early stage startup business and spent so much of my time pitching angel investors and venture capitalists. And I very quickly understood which were the ones that I appreciated more than others. And the ones I appreciated were ones that had a really clear thesis of what they were investing in, what they were looking for, what their partnership model was, what their evaluation process was, and all the different steps that were involved in working with them. And it occurred to me that the only way that I could actually scale, the way that I could get to know several hundred different companies in the youth sports industry was to basically flip my role in the situation and act like I was a investor in these companies And I started to really believe what I was saying, because in my opinion, I was investing in these companies. I'm investing in a partnership with them. I'm building a product with them. I'm making a commitment to my partners that this is a product that I believe in, that delivers on the promises that I've made to them. And so, one thing I did, it took a while to get to this point, but I published a thesis, and I'm going to switch to this here. It's not on our website, so I still have a little bit of control. It is still built in Notion, but I can publish this to the web and share it. And what happens, so a lot of the leads I get will come from a board member or my CEO or my president, or they'll come from the sales team is on the phone with someone they're trying to close. And there's a lot of really phenomenal entrepreneurs that are building new products in the youth sports industry. And I love speaking to them, and I love learning about their business. But I also have learned that, LeagueApps is not the place for companies to go and figure out product market fit. And what I realized was tend to be a lot of awkward conversations when I would start a call explaining to people how wonderful it would be for them to be in the LeagueApps Integration Center, and then, end up saying, well, you're not a good fit for us. So I said, okay, let's, what have I learned from raising capital? So, here's something. I'm already putting a stake in the ground, saying, like, right now, we're just talking to you about a Q4 launch. For early stage startups, that's already a death sentence. They're like, I can't plan a 6-month partnership with you. I have the whole overview on who LeagueApps is that I shared with you guys, get them really excited about why they should want to build an integration on the LeagueApps platform. I talk about who our customers are and why we call them our partners, that our partners own their data. So we are hard to work with because I don't have direct access to the 10 million members that use LeagueApps every day. I respect my partners' ownership over their members. And so a partnership with me, if you want to sell a product to a parent, we need to figure out there's 4 different players in the ecosystem. There's the technology partner, me, the organization, and now the parent. And in fact, there's the child as well. So there's 5 different stakeholders here. So these are the things I try to explain to them up front, that we don't sell ads, and we're not a great engine for reaching consumers end to end. Talk about my mission and vision, and then I go into our philosophy. And then I go into, this is where the VC process comes in. I asked them to really think through the synergy between our products. I list out what my high priority categories are to help them understand where my focus is and my attention is. I'm asking about their company track record. I use Crossbeam to figure out who our shared customers are. I've had some platform partners that didn't want to share their customer base with me. And it was just, okay, well, then you're not the right partner to work with me. And, I'm going to go work with your competitors instead. And I will say this has proven to be really valuable for me in so many ways. One, it helps people understand I've got a great deal of transparency here. I'm telling people what I'm doing. I can share this with my customers so they can understand how I'm thinking about it. And then, there was a company that I really liked. Our founder is a phenomenal person, but in the first call I had, I was able to say to him, look, every time I have this conversation, we're evaluating, is this a build or buy? This is a new category that I don't know much about. And 2 months later, when I had to let him down, he said, hey, you told me from day one that this is something you guys would look at building yourself. And I always knew that was a chance. So I've found this to be really valuable, since transparency and openness is one of our company values. I love having this here. And then I talk through what our process is to support them in building integrations, and then to help them, this is level setting with them on what the expectations are of actually reaching our customers. So this is, for me, this is how I evaluate the companies. I run them through this really rigorous process. There is a second part of this. Again, I'm using Notion now, and now I create a shared workspace with the platform partner. And I give this to them before I cut a deal. I tell them, this is the evaluation process. Here's, 10, 11 steps in the process. We'll do an initial evaluation. We'll look at our customer overlap. We'll do a deep review of your product. We'll share our product with you. We'll ensure alignment on business terms and go-to-market expectations. And if all of that is in place, then I've got a contract that is basically not designed to be edited. If there's something unique about it's the terms and conditions of joining the integration center, right? It's like you're a developer and you want to build on the Apple App Store. You don't call Apple and negotiate the terms with them. You just check the box and you build your app. So, you know, I will have the conversation if there's something unique about their industry that requires a different revenue share arrangement, then we'll have those conversations. But for the most part, there's 7 pages of, you know, these are the terms of being in our integration center. That was the execute phase where, you know, just really streamlined it and made it very systematic. You know, then I go and I get my department feedback. So I have a list of every department leader. I want to engage them early on in the process and, you know, educate them. Hey, here's the companies I'm talking to. This is the reason why this category is important. This is the reason why we like this company. Do you guys have any feedback? And, you know, I'll talk to them individually and say, hey, this is how this is going to help your department accomplish your objectives while fulfilling our promise of being a great platform. You know, the reason why, just so you know, the reason why this is, so each one of these is the board that has a lot of content. So I just copy and paste this, and then I can just fill in all this content for each platform partner. So this is shared with the third party. This part about getting department level feedback is just a checkbox because I'm capturing all these notes. These are internal company notes that I wouldn't share with the platform partner. So this is just got it. You know, so this is our partnership and evaluation process in a nutshell. Is a lot of work goes in here, a lot of diligence. We'll even do an initial design of the integration with them and really understand what our development process looks like before we execute the partnership agreement. And then, you know, our development process is still a work in progress. We hired a developer advocate, and she started in March and has been phenomenal in being able to really project manage our integration center partners through building these integrations, you know, which is around a lot of documentation and a lot of, you know, just daily support to them. So before I move down there, I'll pause here, and this is, you know, answer any questions at large about our evaluation process.
Do you still use this? Like, how often are you refining this, and are you still actively using it?
I use this every single day. So I've got about 8 of these that I've activated with third parties. I have, you know, other parts of my workspace I'll use to evaluate the 200 companies, but it's only when, you know, one has really passed this initial partnership evaluation, and I have, you know, some high level alignment with my CEO and with my product team that we're going to move forward, then I'll actually turn this into a workspace with a new platform partner. And I will not, I won't execute a contract with a new partner until every box is checked in this process.
And what's your guys' capacity? Like, are you, like, I'm just trying to think how to frame the question. Like, do you have, say, 10 active partnerships you can work on? Like, because you're pulling on product, you're pulling on marketing, like you're pulling on the resources of the company. So how are you balancing that? Like, how many in the queue can you be working on with actively? Like, just from a resource allocation and like just not, you know, pissing anybody off within the company, guys.
Yeah, so look, I'm in some ways I'm a department of one, and I'm the only person that, you know, leads up the integration center. But that was very intentional. We hired a developer advocate, and we wanted that person to sit on the product team and be the owner of our API and be the owner of the integration center from the product perspective. And I call her, you know, my spy on the product meetings, and it's wonderful. And then I have, you know, we hired a product marketer who has ownership over all of the LeagueApps products, and she's taken a really important role in helping me do the product marketing for the integration center. We have somebody in the customer support who half of his role is supporting our customers when they want to adopt integrations. And one of the next roles might be an upsell specialist, which I'll play that role until we determine that that's the way we want to go. And then once we want to go that way, we'll put that person either on the sales team or on the customer success team. So we definitely have made a significant investment in our platform strategy. We are even looking into hiring an engineer full time to focus on building integrations, because one of the learnings we've had is that the amount of effort that goes into onboarding a new developer is perhaps not the best use of time versus us building up a library of code that we can take from one integration to another and then just accelerate our velocity in launching integrations. So in terms of capacity, we, right now our bottleneck is the speed at which we can oversee and manage a third party to build an integration on LeagueApps. It takes a lot of investment to get the integration built right. And part of that is because historically, people are used to taking our API and calling data and putting it into their product. And we're saying, no, that's not what we want. We want to build a platform. We want integrations to live on LeagueApps in the LeagueApps Integration Center that's powered by Pandium. And there's going to be a learning curve for you. You're going to have to learn our API. You're going to have to learn how to build scripts and configure integrations inside Pandium. And it's going to be a little bit harder. And we're taking a long-term approach with our platform partners because we're making the investment here. So right now I've got 5 that are live. Super excited that we've got another 4 that are coming live this month, and I expect 3 more to come live in the summer, and then looking to launch 3 more in the fall. I think the youth sports industry is small enough where we don't have a vision of having 100 or 200 integrations here. We think 30 integrations over 2 to 3 years is going to effectively solve all of our customers' pain points.
No, this is excellent. I mean, it's still 14. Like that's from nothing to 14 is a feat, right? And especially because you don't have dedicated resources building them out and sharing those development resources. Like it's the partner that's building this out. So like convincing those guys, obviously the whole fit piece of it to make sure that it's a good partner for you guys. But then there's also like the technical skills and resource allocation to build it out, and they're doing all of it pretty much. So that's challenging, for sure. And the fact that you guys they want to work with you so much that they're dedicating those resources is really great. Like I saw QuickBooks is on there and stuff. So like these aren't just tiny little companies. Like they're dedicating resources to build out. So
those the MailChimps and the QuickBooks Online are ones where we have invested in building those ourselves. It's the youth, and those ones that don't run through this process, right? It's the youth sports industry companies. They're the ones that are run through this process, and that's where my job becomes to sell them, not on working with LeagueApps, but to sell them on utilizing this process and falling into line with our system. So, I had a conversation with one company that, they called me to tell me that they decided no. And then I spent, 45 minutes doing the hardest sell I could possibly do, which, as you guys probably know, is very empathic listening call, not talking much, and just telling them how much I understand where they are as a company, because I lived in their shoes as a, 6-person company for 8 years, and then getting them back over the hump to say, no, you really need to do this. And I'm excited to say I came to contract terms with them yesterday, and I'll be sending them the contract tomorrow.
Amazing.
So what's next for us? Really quickly, what's next is like really refined our diligence of the partners. We're looking much more intently into how tech savvy they are and how quickly they can get integration built. We put a lot of effort into our documentation. Our developer advocate is phenomenal, and she's really ramping up on, she's a master of our product, she's a master of our API, and then she's becoming a phenomenal project manager. And then look, we're looking to build integrations ourselves. And then lastly, this is what I'm most excited about over the future is I'm looking to build integrations natively into our product. So, you know, the integrations are going to hit our partners exactly in their workflows, you know, where we can really drive more adoption, you know, and not have them go into a marketplace, but just actually be like, oh, this is exactly what I want to do right now, right here. And all I have to do is just check this box and boom, away we go.
I had a quick question. First of all, I'm really impressed with, I think, the organization of your overall process and like the evaluation steps and how you've got, you know, pillars for, you know, the tasks, the ownership. I'm definitely stealing some of that stuff. I was curious, you had a few interesting, maybe it was down below. I saw when you popped one of those open, the department feedback, and you had some folks in there like BD and finance. Yeah, maybe that's the one. Yeah, this guy. So can you provide a couple examples of what sort of information you're providing to kind of biz dev in particular, and finance and data? That one's intriguing to me. These are obviously all loaded questions because I've got two of these departments internally that, you know, politically I always struggle with, and I'm just looking for, you know, curious to see how it works in your world.
Sure. So BD at LeagueApps is it's an internal department, and they actually manage our relationships with the pro leagues, with Major League Baseball, NBA. So it's a very different connotation than what you were thinking. But, you know, in a way, I am BD as well, because I'm also the one I'm evaluating, like, hey, this is a company that we should be buying. Versus,
well, BD in any company is like this opaque just definition, and kind of depends on the industry space size. But okay, got it. Good to know.
In terms of finance, I mean, that's more of a, like, hey, this is the strategy, this is the, you know, I do my financial modeling with my CFO once a year, and so this is just, you know, circling by and letting them know these are the expectations for this partnership, and I'll work with my accounting team to make sure that we have our billing and systems in place. I'll work with my my data analytics team to make sure that we have the reporting in place.
Got it.
You know, I have a weekly. That was a major. You know, I think the definition they use, they called it an epic data project that took about 6 months to go from zero to, you know, having any adoption of an integration, as well as the revenue share that we got in a single month, flowing all the way to the CEO's dashboards and to all the departments in the company.
Got it.
So, you know,
super helpful.
Launch an integration. Yeah, it's just a pass through to be like, okay, guys, we got another one. Let's go repeat our process.
Awesome. Hey, I have to jump into another. This has been awesome. I want the recording too, so Evan, I'll hit you up for that. But I really appreciate the pitch. So thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, no, this is great. I mean, if there is quite, we are at time here, so if there are questions, just jump on Slack. Bharat is part of the community, so, and I'm sure he'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. And this is, yeah, it is recorded, and we'll be adding it to the playlist for executive members. So thanks everybody for joining me. Bharat, man, thanks a lot for doing it. This was excellent. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure. Thanks, Evan.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Have a good day. Bye-bye.